whatever I can find that piques my interest and entertains the fuck out of my mind. Sometimes people ask me what I'm about. I don't know. Hey, and welcome to my podcast. If you've been listening to me before, then you probably listen to me now. And if you haven't listened before, then you are listening now. I'm Bam Bam. On my episode today, it's a topic true and dear to my heart. I got a guest. I have a guest that is coming up in this episode. Her name is Cassandra. I actually met her a couple of years back at a documentary screening of a documentary called Fantastic Fungi. Basically, it's about the new science of psychedelics and mushrooms, shrooms in particular. Narrating the movie is who played Captain Marvel? Oh, Brie Larson. So she narrates some of the movie, and the other narration. I don't even know how to say that fucking word. God damn it! It's not because I've done too many drugs. It's just because I'm an idiot. I'm a village idiot. Anyways, Paul Stamets. If you've never heard of Paul Stamets, you got to look him up. He is the mushroom king of the world. He's been studying mushroom science and biology. Is that what you call it? Biology. Well, let's call it biology since the mid 70s. He's also on Joe Rogan. You can check out some of those talks, which are fantastic. I promise you. After you listen to Paul Stamets talk about it, you'll become a mushroom fan. Not just magic mushrooms, which I like to call shrooms, and everyone else, that's normal, but also mushrooms in general for bettering humanity, for nutrition, for living a better life, right? Mushrooms are the key to everything. Because if you want, you can go check out a CBC documentary called the Magic King. Is it called The Magic Kingdom? Hold on. No, it's a CBC documentary called The Kingdom: How Fungi Made Our World. So in a nutshell, a mushroom came from somewhere and created life on Earth. It's a scientific fact. You go watch it. It's a great documentary. It's about 40-something minutes long. Awesome. Just awesome stuff. It'll change your fucking world. Back to the Fantastic Fungi. The key part of that movie that really caught my attention was the fact that mycelium, which is the mushroom, has this network underground, which it's the largest living organism in the world. We're also an organism. We've evolved from mushrooms, and another interesting part of it is that mushroom network under the ground, which in Fantastic Fungi does a really good job of doing a 3D animation of how it works and how it looks. It's basically the same kind of network as our brains, and it fires its own neurons, like it's communicating with itself underground. So check out Fantastic Fungi. I promise you, you're going to watch it at least 2 or 3 times. I did. And my guest today, I met her at that documentary. She was sitting behind me in the theater, and it was really cool is because like-minded people went to go see this. It's called Hot Docs in Toronto, and that's a documentary theater where they were premiering this movie. They were supposed to be on Netflix, but Netflix lowballed the production, so it cost about, the person who made the movie, I can't remember his name, but he spent around $5 million producing this documentary. Netflix wanted to give him like $2.5 million. So this guy's like, you know what? Instead of putting it on Netflix, I'm going to tour it for 1 year. And word of mouth is going to blow it up, which it did. It's one of the greatest documentaries I've ever seen. And I paid, and I went to see it in a documentary theater. And there was a lot. It was the first time in a theater where I saw there was like hippie or hipster or whatever you want to call them. There was just seriously like chill people that had their babies in their laps. And I'm sitting there, there's a bunch of babies in this movie theater, and I'm like, oh Jesus Christ. They're gonna cry, they're gonna ruin the movie. No, not at all. Even the babies. There was about 5 babies in this movie theater. I'd say a few months, like under a year old. And none of them made a peep through the movie. Blew my mind. I almost wanted to take shrooms while I was doing this movie. not doing the movie, watching the movie. But I didn't because I really wanted to take it in and enjoy it because I love mushrooms. So let's get back to my guest. My guest was behind me with her boyfriend, and we were talking, and we got into this conversation about our experiences and everything, and she ended up telling me that she did ayahuasca with a shaman, a guided trip. I was like, wow, that's so cool. And we got along, we hit it off. I got her number, and she's like, hey, if you ever want to try out the guided trip, I can hook you up, or if you can hook me up with shrooms, I can do that, or if I ever have something, like, just, a connection. We made a connection, and I figured, yeah, I can give you some shrooms, and which I did. Hooked her up with someone recently. He's got something called penis envy. Go Google that, penis envy mushroom. Really intense stuff. Not as intense as ayahuasca. So, anyways, I'm Bam Bam. I'm all about the most randomest shit I can find to have a conversation about, and this is what I wanted to talk about. So I reconnected with her and asked her if she wanted to do my podcast and tell me about her experience with the guided trip with the shaman on the ayahuasca. That's the whole podcast, and we're gonna get to that. Usually I do an intro like this where I introduce things. I try to do a little shorter. We're already at 6 minutes and 20-some seconds. But this is not an intro anymore. We're going to get to that podcast, but I want to add to it a little bit. Oh, hang on. Got to pee. So yeah, I wanted to add to it, and I printed out this article called, it's from Shroom BROS. I don't know if it's shroombros.com or something. If you Google Shroom BROS. The title is Magic Mushrooms and Canadian Law, Everything You Need to Know. So let's go through this. Answers on this page. Where did magic mushrooms first appear in Canada? When were magic mushrooms made illegal in Canada? Sure, why not? So let's read through this. So, new research has Canadians increasingly interested in the potential medical benefits of magic mushrooms and their active ingredients, the hallucinogenic compound psilocybin. Recent studies indicate that taking magic mushrooms under the right conditions can produce positive personality changes. Yes, I can concur to that. I've been doing shrooms since I was 14, and I'm in my mid-30s now. So I'm a 15-year veteran, something along those lines. We know millions of Canadians are struggling with depression and addictions. And in this podcast, I tell you, well, not tell you, you're going to be listening, but I was telling my guest, Cassandra, of how I'm living proof that mushrooms help with addictions. I was seriously addicted to fucking blow. Slightly a little crystal meth, a little bit, right? And took some shrooms and out the window like a fart in the wind. Gone. Addiction was gone within next day. After my trip, my solo trip that I did on myself, while I was watching people play Super Mario and Zelda and stuff like that from Super Nintendo or Nintendo, and it was great. It was a great trip, and it cured right there. Living proof. Once you listen to the talk, I talk about it a little bit more in detail. So I'm very open about it. I am, because it's just amazing how psychedelics can do that to you, and that's another thing why I believe that scientifically we evolved from mushrooms, is because I'll read it. I have these other papers of facts about mushrooms and how it fires new neurons in your brain. It's just, why does it adapt to us so well? It heightens everything, your senses, your emotions, your enjoyment, turns you into a child again. It's amazing. Like, who doesn't want to be a child again? Everyone misses being a child. Except for me, because I have Peter Pan syndrome. I haven't grown up yet. Here we go. So anyways, millions of Canadians are struggling with depression and addiction, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, which I don't want to talk about, but it's in the article. So what's preventing more Canadians from taking advantage of the potential benefits of magic mushrooms? So, well, in relationship, magic mushrooms are... Oh, wait a minute. I don't read so well out loud. For many, it's the relationship between magic mushrooms and Canadian law. I read somewhere, I was trying to find it so I could read it on this podcast right now, I had it screenshot, but I remember I found a Canadian law that stated that it was legal to grow mushrooms, but it was deemed illegal as soon as you dried them. And that's a stupid law, because even if it's in the pot or in the bag or however you're harvesting those mushrooms, even if it's still in soil before you pick it and dry it, if you eat it, it's still it's psychoactive. It makes no sense. I have no idea. But anyways, that's how it is. And I have actually other laws that I printed out. I will get to that after I get through this. Oh, here we go. Oh, this is a good title headline. This is a good headline right here. A history of mushroom laws in Canada. Well, might as well read it. Very few Canadians have ever heard of magic mushrooms before 1957, when Life magazine published an article called Great Adventures 3, Seeking the Magic Mushroom by Robert Gordon Wason, an amateur mycologist. In the article, Wason describes his experience traveling to... I don't even know how to say that. I'll spell it. Oaxaca. Oaxaca. I'm not going to say it. Anyways, that word I spelled Mexico. And taking magic mushrooms with Mexico's indigenous people known as the Mazatec, he claimed to be the first white man in recorded history to eat the divine mushroom. The article served as a roadmap that would lead countless Canadians, Americans, and Europeans to Mexico in the 1960s in pursuit of the same hallucinogenic and spiritual experience that Wason has described. After these tourists returned home, they began to recognize pasture mushrooms in their local environment that were similar to those they encountered in Mexico. As it turns out, mushrooms with hallucinogenic properties occurred naturally on every continent in the world. Magic mushrooms began to be used in Canada in the mid-1960s. The first criminal seizure of magic mushrooms took place in Vancouver in 1965 when the RCMP, you know, the guys with the red outfits and the big silly fucking hubcap hats riding horses, those guys. RCMP officers confiscated psilocybin containing Liberty Cap mushrooms from a group of students at the University of British Columbia. Of course it's in British Columbia. Magic mushrooms continued to grow in popularity through the hippie movement in the late 1960s and 1970s. Liberty Cap mushrooms grew abundantly in the pastures, meadows, and fields of British Columbia, attracting thousands of pickers from across the country. Pickers would arrive in autumn when the mushrooms were in season, establishing tent cities around the most productive areas and often committing petty crimes like trespassing over... Oh my God, come on. Trespassing or property damage to access Liberty Caps growing on private land. Magic mushrooms were still technically legal in Canada, but the practices around accessing the mushrooms were often illegal or disruptive to the community. Beer time! Can't read a story without a beer! While disruptive mushroom pickers may have created problems for local police, they may have not influenced the development of Canadian law as much as a single document from the United Nations, the Convention of Psychotropic Substances, 1971. This was an international treaty where 71 states agreed to participate in a worldwide program to limit the availability of psychotropic substances to the general public. Bam, bam, right in the article. Hey, I fucking love that. Anyways, psychotropic substance to the general public and restrict the use of psychotropics to medicinal, and scientific settings. You sons of bitches, motherfuckers. Let's continue. The 1971 convention listed psilocybin as a Schedule 1 drug, the most restrictive designation possible. Schedule 1 drugs were characterized as having a high potential for abuse and no known therapeutic value, a description that no longer seems to suit magic mush. You know, you guys are motherfuckers. You didn't give it a shot. What is this right here? No therapeutic value? If you've ever tried shrooms, you would know it's very therapeutic. It is. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scream like that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to yell like that, okay? Why are we yelling? It's just fun to yell. It's very therapeutic. I told you, it's like being a child again. It's no scientific proof. Pfft, Jesus, what were they doing back then? So the CIA was selling cocaine back to the cartel and, you know, running weapons into the Middle East and then selling it back to South America. Yeah, that was okay, but we can't take therapeutic drugs. Man, go watch Narcos Mexico. It explains what I just said. It's not a conspiracy. It happened. Where did I leave off? Okay, ultimately, the Convention of Psychotropic Substances influenced how Canada, as well as other countries, wrote laws to govern the use of psychotropics. In many cases, complying with the convention meant banning psychotropic substances like magic mushrooms entirely, often without complete knowledge of their effects, either positive or negative. So they banned it not knowing anything. They didn't know if it was good or bad. They said, no, that's done. Predictably, magic mushrooms were prohibited in Canada in 1974 by their addition to the Food and Drug Act. Sort of. Period. Okay. In fact, the government of Canada added the compound psilocybin to the Food and Drug Act, not the mushrooms themselves. This becomes important later. Between 1974 and 1979, approximately 350 individuals were convicted under the Food and Drug Act for possessing magic mushrooms. Then, in 1979, the British Columbia Court of Appeals ruled that possession of magic mushrooms in their natural state, freshly picked and not dehydrated. Remember I told you before it was okay if you were growing them? But once you dehydrated them, you dried them out, it was a different story, right? It was legal to grow them, but not legal to dry them. Okay, so anyways, let's continue on. Freshly picked and not dehydrated did not constitute possession of psilocybin. See, it's right here. There we go. Okay, I found it. I was looking for it online. I can't find it anymore, but it's in this article right here. See, so let me start over. Let me start this paragraph over. Then, in 1979, the British Columbia Court of Appeals ruled that possession of magic mushrooms in their natural state, in brackets, freshly picked and not dehydrated, did not constitute possession of psilocybin. For 3 years between 1979 and 1982, magic mushrooms were completely legal in Canada, and pickers rejoiced. I wasn't even born in 82. But their joy was short-lived, as a 1982 decision from the Canadian Supreme Court would overrule the BC Court of Appeal decision, stating that possession of magic mushrooms in their raw form did actually constitute possession of psilocybin. Magic mushrooms were illegal in Canada once again and would remain illegal for decades to follow. Oh, so I was reading old law. My bad. I take nothing back. Let's continue. Magic mushrooms in Canada. No. Magic mushrooms in Canada. What does the law say today? How much more do I got? Magic mushrooms are still under prohibition in Canada, although recent legislative changes indicate that this could change in the near future. Still, a review of magic mushrooms in Canadian law would be incomplete without a thorough analysis of how mushrooms and psilocybin are regulated in Canada today. Here's everything you need to know. Magic mushrooms are regulated under the Act Controlled Drugs and Substance Act. Magic mushrooms are not explicitly mentioned in the Controlled Drugs and Substance Act, CDSA. However, psilocybin, the active ingredient in mushroom, belongs to the list of Schedule 3 controlled substances, which include other recognized psychotropics such as... This is a hard word for me. I'm not good with big words. Bear with me. Methylephenidate. In brackets here, it's Ritalin, Concerta, used to treat ADHD. lysergic acid, diethylamide. Oh, LSD. Okay. These words, man. I feel like an asshole reading them. Mescaline, hallucinogenic, occurs naturally in peyote cactus. Oh yeah, peyote cactus. Like we have that shit around here. I don't mind trying. No, I'm never doing. No. Peyote cactus. Fuck that. I heard that's like a 48-hour trip. I am not into that. You listen to the podcast with Cassandra. I'll explain why. I like to have some control. Dimethyltryptamine, DMT, a hallucinogen compound produced by the human brain and associated with dreaming. Did you know that your human brain creates DMT? See, I've heard of like. I heard this on Joe Rogan, where they haven't really figured it out. I tried to look this up. They're pretty sure it's there. And Joe Rogan even talked about how our brain produces DMT, and also somewhere in your spine you produce DMT, which is like a serious psychedelic. And the theory is that when your body, when you die, your body has like a reaction system which releases the DMT, which is probably like 10,000 times more potent than LSD. This is why when people die and get revived, right? You do some CPR, right? And then they come back to life. They're like, oh my God, I saw Jesus riding a unicorn. It was shitting fucking rainbows. What the fuck? Yeah, bro. You were high as a motherfucker. And then there's also another theory that when you take psychedelics like LSD, acid, shrooms, DMT, psilocybin, the cactus, fucking whatever, is that what you're seeing, these visuals are a slight vision to what the actual world or universe looks like, right? We're all energy, okay? Without mushrooms, there would be no biodegradation. It's every time you see, like, just say like an apple or something rotting and you see like the kind of fuzziness on it, that comes from mushrooms. That's biodegrading it. That is spores that came from a mushroom and hit the dead stuff and it's eating it up, right? Trees, human bodies, dog, and any fucking body, right? Anything, fruits, vegetables, anything that fucking dies, the mushroom will send spores over and it will decompose it. Now, I have a theory that like heaven isn't what we think it is. Everyone thinks it's up, okay? I think it's down because we were created by mushrooms and our brain network is the exact same network, like visually, it's the exact same. I don't know how you look at it on a microscope or on a graph or whatever, but if you watch Fantastic Fungi, you'll see the network, okay? And then go Google brain network and it's the same shit. We have neurons, that has neurons. So I think when we die, the mushrooms decompose us and our energy goes into the ground. So that's not actually hell. That's our heaven. Our energy will go back to the mushroom network and who knows from there, right? Maybe you pop back in some other part of the world as a squirrel or a koala, which would be really cool. I'd like to be a kangaroo because I like boxing. Oh, okay. Let me get back to this. Went off. I always do that. I love it. Oh, yeah, right here. Okay, so let's start with this one again. So, thus, all of the laws which apply to Schedule 3 controlled substances may be applied to psilocybin itself or to magic mushrooms in any form that contains psilocybin. Yes. No. Where's the part? Where was I reading that? The containing controlled CDS referred. Ha! All right, here we go. So DMT, a hallucinogenic compound produced by the human brain and associated with dreaming. Possession of magic mushrooms in their natural state is still considered possession of magic mushrooms in their natural state is still considered to constitute possession of psilocybin. The CDSA even states that any reference that make to control substance also includes a reference to any substance containing the controlled substance. Thus, all of the laws which apply to Schedule 3 controlled substances may be applied to psilocybin itself or to magic mushrooms in any form contain psilocybin. Possession of magic mushrooms is regulated in Canada. The CDSA prohibits anyone in Canada from possessing psilocybin or magic mushrooms except as authorized under Canadian law. Medical practitioners such as doctors, oh, you're going to love this, lawyers, and veterinarians may be authorized under the regulation to prescribe psilocybin treatment to their patients. Lawyers don't have patients. Like, why? A lawyer has clients, not patients. Why? How does a lawyer have power to subscribe psilocybin or any other fucking psychedelic? It's just fucking Canada's ass backwards, man. I don't get it. What a great country. I swear to God. Patients seek and prescriptions for magic mushrooms from a practitioner, lawyer. So if I commit a crime and say, hey, listen, I need some psilocybin or some LSD, bro, to get through this fucking court shit. I'm going to jail. Get me lit, motherfucker. I should call my old lawyer Bill, man. That guy was the shit. Got me off a lot of things, actually. Good for him. Yeah. I should call him up. Go steal a chocolate bar. Give me some LSD. That's amazing. So, let me start over here. Patients seeking a prescription of magic mushrooms from a practitioner are required by law to disclose any other acquisitions of drugs in Schedule 1, 2, 3, or 4, along with any prescription received for such substances in the past 30 days. Selling magic mushrooms is regulated in Canada. The CDSA prohibits anyone from possessing magic mushrooms for the purpose of trafficking them to others. Is it trafficking if you don't take money? Well, anyways, move on. Exporting magic mushrooms is regulated in Canada. The CDSA prohibits anyone from importing or exporting magic mushrooms except as authorized under Canadian regulations. Lawyers. Growing magic mushrooms is regulated in Canada. The CDSA prohibits anyone from producing magic mushrooms in Canada. Yeah, well, unless you got a warrant, you ain't gonna find them in my basement. Just kidding. Wink, wink, maybe. I don't know. Agree to disagree. What did Nick Fury say? I nor deny or what? Here we go. Nick Fury said, I will neither confirm nor deny. How are magic mushrooms laws enforced in Canada? This should be fucking interesting. The general trend in Canada is that enforcement of drug crimes is declining. The number of yearly arrests for drug-related offenses has dramatically dropped by 30% in the last 5 years, as documented by Statistics Canada. In 2015, police arrested 99,827 Canadians. Blah, 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 content. 2016 made a total of 95,417 arrests in Canada for drug-related offenses, 46% of which were cannabis possessions. In 2017, the total number of arrests fell to 90,625, and just 42% were for cannabis possessions. Blah, blah, blah. So it continues on. So we'll move forward. In 2019, Canadian police made just 70,000 related arrests and were related to cannabis. 70,000 people got fucked for weed. Holy shit. Luckily it's legalized now. I just unbelievable. Like, one time I was sitting with my relatives and I was sitting with my buddy. I mean, his mom was there. And my buddy was smoking weed. She was like, oh, you're a fucking idiot. You're committing a crime, blah, blah, blah. And I go, hey, well, what's the problem? Like, look at him. He's just sitting there laughing his ass off. He's not even moving. If anything, he's going to sit there all night. He's going to get high as shit. He's going to munch out. And that's that. I'm like, look at other people like me. How many times did I get drunk and the cops got called on me because I got way out of hand? Right? And that, my buddy's mom was like, I guess it makes sense. Yeah, no shit. Like, fuck. LCBO, liquor is legalized by Ontario, but weed, well, it is now. Anyways. That's something else to go off about on another time. This is about psychedelics, not weed. And where were magic mushrooms in all this? Well, the Vancouver City Council recently voted to strike down something. I'll continue reading. We'll probably get to it. We also look at the emergence of new psychedelic companies such as Numinous, which I bought those stocks. And to be honest, right now, if you go on Wealthsimple or you look up the Numinous stocks, they're actually under $1. Surprising. They usually set at like $1.50. The first Canadian company legally harvesting magic mushrooms. So, okay, let me start over. Numinous, the first Canadian company legally harvesting magic mushrooms. There are many other promising developments in these areas, and arrests for possession rarely result in any major penalties for those with clean criminal records. That is a dick move right there. As a result of these considerations, the court tends to show leniency to first-time offenders with a clear record, especially in the case of simple possession where the penalty for a first offense is sometimes just a fine of $250 to $500. Dick. That's like a few ounces right there. Also, another one you want to look up, stock in psychedelics, is called MMED. I believe it's called Mind Medicine. That one's backed by Kevin O'Leary. I bought those too. Buy it right now. It's like $3. Usually it's at like $5.50 a stock. Continuing. Historically, the courts haven't always agreed on whether magic mushrooms should be legal in Canada. What's also clear is that the Canadian lawmakers who pushed for prohibition were unaware of the medicinal benefits of psilocybin that have been uncovered by modern research into psychedelic substances. But now that those benefits are coming to the surface, we're seeing our government and our courts change their stance on magic mushrooms, just like when cannabis was legalized. I give it 5 years until mushrooms are going to be legal. We're starting to see often soft changes in how magic mushrooms are regulated that could ultimately lead to decriminalization and more widespread usage in the future. Below, we highlight some of the critical milestones that have been reached in the past 5 years for the legal status of magic mushrooms in Canada. I gotta pee again. Magic mushrooms are openly sold online. Despite their questionable legal status, magic mushrooms are openly sold online in Canada. Digital dispensaries sell a variety of shroom products to Canadians over 19 years of age. I started when I was 14. With or without medical prescription. The authorities know about these dispensaries, but have chosen to focus their limited resources on criminal activity involving more harmful drugs. Yeah, like fucking cocaine, crystal meth, crack, heroin. Like, you know, I'll tell you this right now, okay? If I take acid right now, okay, or I take shrooms right now, I'm gonna have a lot of fun. But it's all in moderation. You don't take like 3 fucking tabs of acid, you take 1, okay? You gotta get a figure. I don't know. Some people are different. I got a buddy who can take 5 grams of shrooms, and the guy, he's fine. I can't do that. I had a bad trip one time. It was godly. I've talked about it many times on my podcast, and actually with my upcoming podcast with Cassandra. I think I get into it a little bit, but I'm not going to get into it right now. I found my money shot. My money shot is 2.5 grams. Okay, so if I take 1 tab of acid right now, or 2.5 grams of fucking shrooms, I'm gonna trip for hours. That's right. I'm gonna have a great adventure. It's gonna be like living in a fucking Peter Pan movie, like Hook, or I'm gonna, Animaniacs. Or it's gonna be a phenomenal. I'm gonna have a great fucking time. That's what I'm saying. And if I had to work tomorrow at 7 a.m., right? What is it? We have 4:30 p.m. So 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 8:30. Maybe I'll be done by 9:30, 8:30, 9:30. Go to bed by 10. I'm up. I'm up at 6 in the morning. I'm taking a shower at 6:30. I'm having breakfast. I'm off to work. But if I fucking get hammered at 8, like let's say I start drinking, get hammered by 7 p.m. and I'm hammered by 9 and try and go to bed for 10, I'm not getting up at 6 a.m. Okay? If I did some blow, I'd be up all night till 6 a.m. And then I'd be contemplating whether I should go to work and if anyone's going to notice or not. If I did, I've never done heroin. No idea. Crystal meth? Yeah, sure, you can do that. You'll be up for like 2-3 days if you don't stop. But see what I mean? I don't consider psychedelics a drug. It's a medicine, okay? Drugs ruin your life. Medicine enhance your life. Think of it that way. Alcohol, it's just fun. So take it how you want it. Vancouver City Council killed motion to crack down on psilocybin sales. The lack of potential, I'm misreading words now. The lack of political will, that doesn't make any sense. The lack of political will to prosecute Canadians for magic mushrooms has never been more clearly evident than it was on September 11, 2019 in a meeting of the Vancouver City Council. Actually, here's a fun fact. I always call into news radio, and I talked to the mayor. They had him on as a guest, and I talked to him on air. You can call in. It's interactive radio. You can call in and talk. I talked to the mayor of Vancouver, I don't know, 2 months ago, because he's trying to push for the decriminalization of psychedelic drugs like mushrooms. It was a fun talk. He actually enjoyed my story that I told him. Okay, so we finished off in a meeting of the Vancouver, blah, blah. This was a councillor, Melissa D. Gianova, filed a motion deterring and preventing the distribution and sales of psilocybin mushrooms and or other illicit or controlled drugs unlawfully sold in the city of Vancouver. Breaking the fourth wall here for a moment, I can honestly say that I have never witnessed any occurrence of a government body who introduced a motion on whether or not it should enforce the de facto laws of the land. Why should politicians need to file a motion that mandates police to do their job? Aren't the police already mandated to do their job? The truth is that the police are too busy dealing with the impacts of hard drugs like opioids to bother chasing people around for magic mushrooms, especially now that they have been associated with positive health benefits for so many people. In any case, other councillors characterized the motion as anti-drug hysteria. Vancouver City Council talking about injecting magic mushrooms. And it was what the fuck? What am I reading? Vancouver City Council talking about injecting magic mushrooms. 310. Anyways. And it was defeated in a 6-2 vote. You motherfuckers. Listen here, Vancouver Council. I challenge you to get it fucking cottage, okay? And you all fucking go there and go on some political retreat, some work retreat, and everyone tries shrooms. Get a fucking shaman if you want. You know what? I'll be your shaman. Fly me over there. Fly me over to Vancouver, and I will show you what shrooms are all about. I promise you, you are going to laugh harder than you've ever laughed watching any Dumb and Dumber movie or any other fucking Chevy Chase comedy. You're going to become a child again. I'm going to turn you into a child. You're going to love me. We're going to giggle. Shits and giggles. That's going to be the whole thing. That's what I'm going to call it. This shits and giggles retreat. And then I promise you, when you wake up the next morning, you're still going to be able to go to your fucking House of Commons or wherever the fuck it is you work. And you're going to appreciate your job a lot more. And you're probably going to legalize it right there. You're going to wake up in the morning and be like, yeah, this shit needs to be legal. Woo! Open invitation. Magic mushroom growing kit and spores are illegal. Yeah, this is true. I've been actually trying to get one for myself. Isn't that kind of interesting? It's illegal to grow mushrooms, but it's not illegal to get the kit. Let's read why. While the practice of cultivating magic mushrooms is technically illegal, magic mushroom spores and kits may be purchased in Canada, both in stores and online. It is not explicitly legal to purchase these kits, but nowhere is it prohibited, and the kits themselves do not contain any psilocybin. It may be illegal under 7.1 brackets 1 of the CDSA to sell mushroom growing kits, as they will be used to produce a controlled substance. However, the sale of mushroom kits is a common and generally tolerated practice. Magic mushrooms approved for, I don't even know what that fucking word means. Palliative patients. Palliative? Someone's going to correct me. Patients. In April of 2020, 4 Canadians in fucking word again. Palliative care with terminal illness petitioned for Canadian Health Minister for a legal exemption that would allow them to use magic mushrooms to relieve depression and anxiety associated with dying. Yes, this is a thing. You can, if you watch the documentary Fantastic Fungi, they actually detail that part of using psychedelics for that purpose. On August 4th, it was revealed that their request had been granted, and they would be the first 4 people to legally use mushrooms in Canada since the Supreme Court decision of 1982, a period of 28 years. Since then, at least 7 other legal exemptions have been awarded for psilocybin use, including at least 1 exemption for a non-palliative case. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that word. This is a serious word. Ministry of Health supports research into psychotropics. At the beginning of this article, we talked about some of the research that has uncovered new benefits of magic mushrooms that were previously not known. The promising results obtained in these studies have led Health Canada to hand out more legal exemptions to health professionals who wish to conduct research and develop therapies involving psilocybin. In December 2020, Health Canada granted 16 exemptions to a select of social workers and medical professionals. This gave them permission to possess and use psilocybin themselves without the risk of legal consequences for the purpose of developing new treatment protocols for patients. Man, I got a few more pages. Let's blow right through this. Growing magic mushrooms could soon be legal for medical purposes. In the year 2000, the Ontario Court of Appeal determined that Canada's anti-cannabis laws were constitutional because they did not provide an exemption for medical use. This, the court said, violated the individual's right to life, liberty, and security of the person as outlined in Section 7 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. The legal precedent established here is essentially that the government shouldn't prohibit a private citizen from being prescribed a medicine that can improve their quality of life. This designation might not have applied to magic mushrooms 6 or 7 years ago, but with the new research and developments we are seeing, it sure seems to apply today. In precedent holds, it could, I can't read anymore, my mouth is so dry. It could mean that Canadians have a constitutional right to access medicinal psilocybin or even to grow it for personal use. If anyone wants to check it out, you can Google the Toronto University's studies on psychedelics, and very promising results constantly. Magic mushrooms and Canadian law. What's next? It appears that magic mushrooms are the same. It appears that magic mushrooms are on the same path to legality that cannabis started on in 2001. While magic mushrooms are still technically illegal, individuals are rarely prosecuted for simple possession, and penalties for first-time offenders usually consist of a fine that costs less than a traffic ticket. The general trend of drug enforcement is on the decline, and government bodies like Vancouver City Council have voted not to ramp up enforcement activities against psilocybin dispensaries, both online and in the city. It is important to look at what's important. No, it's not. It is. It's also important to look at what's happening across the border. Magic mushrooms are still illegal in the federal level in the United States, but simple possession has already been decriminalized. Michigan, Denver, Colorado, California, Santa Cruz, California, Washington, D.C., and Oregon. Go check that out. They decriminalized all that shit. Magic mushrooms will be legal for use in supervised clinical settings in... I need a glass of water. Magic mushrooms will be legal for use in supervised clinical settings in Oregon as of February 2021. Oh, last page. All right, let me get some water for this. In the future, we expect to see some more legal exemptions for magic mushroom usage for both medical professionals who wish to conduct studies and develop treatment, and private individuals who wish to enjoy the health benefits of psilocybin. More research is now being conducted into the health benefits of magic mushrooms that at any other time. Oh my God. More research is being conducted into the health benefits of magic mushrooms than at any other time in our history. We believe this research will only yield additional evidence of the health benefits of magic mushrooms. As this body of evidence continues to grow, Canadians who claim the constitutional right to access medical psilocybin will start having their voices heard. If all of the above is true, the question is if magic mushrooms will be legal in Canada one day, but when and how. One path to legality involves the federal government choosing to remove psilocybin from the list of Schedule III substances. This could depend very much on how Canadians vote. While Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has stated that he won't consider decriminalization to you, motherfucker. Just JT, man. What are you doing to us? Seriously. If you're American, you're not from Canada, you got to read what this guy's doing to us right now. Holy shit. I can't believe I voted for that guy. The other path is successful. Oh, hold on, wait. Let me make sure I don't jump the gun. Okay, well, here's the last paragraph. The other path is a successful constitutional challenge, alleging that Canadians have the right to grow and possess magic mushrooms for medical purposes. If we collectively assure our rights to life, liberty, and security of the person, our government should recognize that access to beneficial mushrooms, including psilocybin, is protected under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom. Like, anyone who does mushrooms, they're pretty harmless unless unless you overdo it. It's possible. There's a limit. There's a limit for some people. You cannot overdo the shrooms. Like I said, for me, the magic number is 2.5 grams. With that, I'm gonna stay inside, maybe go for a walk, have a laugh, go stare at some shit. I'm not gonna do anything much else than that, right? But when you're doing blow, you're sketching out, you're different. It's changing you as a person. I just think people should it should be legal, man. Legal. I got some more things to read here. If you haven't tried mushrooms, I highly recommend it. Great stuff. I just went off for about 52 minutes reading that goddamn article. If anyone wants to read that article, again, I'll post a link at the bottom of my description, and you can check it out. It's from the Shroom Bros. Magic Mushrooms and Canadian Law. Everything you need to know. But I'll post a link, so it'll be there. I think we should legalize it. I think that there's a lot of benefits to it. I'm living proof that it can change your life. It can make you a better person. It could help addictions, depression, a lot of things. It's so much fun. I highly recommend it. Now, see, the thing about magic mushrooms, I have this article here where it says scientists constructed a model of the human brain on psilocybin, illuminating how magic mushrooms allow our brain to access untapped potential. This model shows that under the influence of psilocybin, the brain creates a feedback loop of neuron activity and neurotransmitter release, the chemical messenger that neurons use to communicate. This finding was published on Monday in Proceedings of the National Academy of Science. I don't know what the date was. I don't have it. But anyways, that dynamic creates a 1-2 punch that could allow the brain to tap into otherwise inaccessible states, including the what the fuck? I can't read big words, okay? It's not my fault. Destabilization of individual brain networks and the creation of a more global network across the brain. That destabilization is one hypothesis that scientists have used to explain why magic mushrooms can create psychedelic experiences, but it could also underscore why it has potential as treatment for disorders like depression, explains Martin Kringelbach. The study's first author and senior research fellow at the University of Oxford. Using this model will be crucial for truly understanding how psilocybin can rebalance. Oh, here's another big fucking word. Neuropsychiatric disorder. Let's just say that. Neuropsychiatric disorders such as treatment-resistant depression and addiction. Kringelbach tells Inverse. Yeah, it's inverse.com. Check out that article. So, with that said, actually, I got more to read here. What are the health effects of mushrooms? How do shrooms affect the nervous system? Well, I just read that. Okay, I'm not going to read this one. Here's a good one. So for DMT. DMT is also, it's an extreme psychedelic. You probably want to get a shaman or a guide if you're going to go on DMT. That shit is like literally jumping into a Looney Tunes cartoon, I heard. I'm not going to do that. You're gone. You take that one, you're gone. The same thing with ayahuasca, but you'll learn all about that if you listen to my next podcast with Cassandra. How much jail time can you get for DMT? Well, it says here, Google, DMT is listed as a hallucinogen under the Misuse of Drug Act and is classified as a Class A drug. The maximum penalty for possession is 7 years in jail and an unlimited fine. The maximum penalty for supply is life imprisonment. What? A fine? You can get life in prison for a psychedelic? It's North America. I think that's in America. Jesus Christ. Can you imagine? You have psychedelics on you for your own personal benefits, your own personal exploration. You get life imprisonment or 7 years minimum. Jeez, shit's got to change. How long can you go to jail for acid is the question. Because the federal government has classified LSD as one of the most dangerous kinds of drugs, a first-time conviction for the least serious LSD possession offense will be punished with a minimum of $1,000 in fines and a maximum of 3 years in prison. Dear Lord. I've done acid. I've done it many times. I did it when I was 14. I did it when I was kayaking. You are harmless when you're lit on that shit. 3 years for me being harmless. Wow. Now the last one I'm going to read you here, it says, the compounding effect of criminal history also manifests as a federal level in mushroom possession cases. First-time offenders in federal shroom possession cases carry a minimum of $1,000 fine and up to a year in jail. However, for individuals who were previously convicted of drug crimes, these penalties are significantly high at $2,500 in fines and 2 years in jail. These penalties rise from each prior conviction. You know what I mean? If you're going to grow mushrooms, I don't think you should go to jail for it. I don't think you should go to jail for having psychedelics on you. I think psychedelics should be deemed medicine and not a drug. It doesn't ruin your goddamn life. Like, just for having it, your life's going to be ruined? You get the fuck out. How many people were released from prison when they legalized weed? Go after the fucking drug manufacturers where the drugs actually ruin people's lives, right? Like, for fuck's sakes, man. And if it, you know what we should do? We should do just like Oregon has legalized all drugs. They're doing exactly what Portugal did. When Portugal legalized all drugs and stopped treating drugs like a crime and started treating it as an addiction and as a mental issue, then crime went down. Crime went down. The less people went to jail. There was less fines, less arrests, less everything, right? Because instead of saying, oh, you're fucked up, you're under arrest, go to jail, they ended up helping these people. These people got their lives back, right? I'd say we go for it that way, in that direction. If you want to watch a good documentary where you can see what I was talking about in more detail, check out Where to Invade Next with Michael Moore. It's awesome. I hope you enjoyed me reading all these fucking things the way Bam Bam does, because it was fun for me. I didn't think it was going to be an hour. It was an hour. This was supposed to be just an intro. I was supposed to highlight a bunch of things. So after I post this, it's going to be my episode, which is going to be episode 45. So this episode right now that you're listening to is episode 44, and with Cassandra's going to be episode 45. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you get something out of it. I hope you get entertained by it. If you don't like it and you want to say anything about it, I don't care. As long as I make you feel something. That's what matters. Enjoy, fuckers.